All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of From the Front Porch. I'm your host, Joshua Walker. Thank you so much for tuning back in. If this is your first time, welcome. Happy Tuesday. We're going to have a little more conversation about whether Tuesday is going to be the day or Monday, but we're going to figure something out. But just had some scheduling conflicts, so that's why it's Tuesday again this week. The boys all have their own lives, so we make our schedule. We wrap the schedule around what everybody else is doing. I know Super Bowl is probably the big sports topic on everyone's mind this week. So me and Alex are going to get into it a little bit later, but at least it was a good game, is all I'll say. I was rooting for San Francisco, but at least it was a good game. The refs didn't decide the outcome. Taylor Swift might have, but but no, at least it was a good game. But before Alex and I get into everything and before we start the episode, I want to give a huge shout out to one of the new partners for From the Front Porch. And this is not a partnership like Dead Threads or like Beach Bums or like the hat I'm wearing that we're going to talk about a little later. But this is a nonprofit charitable organization. I don't have a discount code for you. I don't have anything like that. I just believe in their mission so deeply and so passionately. And so I conversated with them earlier this week and asked if I could have their permission to promote their organization on the podcast. And they were like, please do. So without further ado, I want to give a huge shout out to the men and women over at One More Wave. Their mission is to provide wounded and disabled veterans with customized surfing equipment and a community to surf with. By equipping veterans and connecting them to their global network of surfing volunteers, they empower them to heal through surf therapy from coast to coast. Now, if you've watched this show at all, I'm surrounded by veteran myself, but surrounded by veterans, and I'm a big advocate for the ocean. And so I can't think of a better project than to help the veterans who need help the most through reconnecting with the ocean and surf and just being able to build that community. So again, that's One More Wave. Please head over there. Please donate if you can. They have apparel and merchandise, stuff like that if you want to help that way, but please head over there, give any way you can. Again, there's no discount code. There's nothing. I don't get anything for this other than the help that we can provide veterans who need it the most. So again, that's One More Wave. Please head over there. Please look them up, donate any way you can. Thank you so much. I know I appreciate it. I know they would really appreciate it. So, with all of that said, as I said before, Alex is going to join me on the show this week. Nash had a couple of scheduling conflicts. We're going to get him on as soon as we can, but me and Alex this week, we're going to talk about Super Bowl, obviously, our opinions on how the game went, what happened, the one or two plays that sort of decided the game. Then we're going to move into politics. Some good politics this week, not as heavy as last week, but obviously with all uplifting gold, there's a little bit of urban decay. So shout out Fleck Toxic Podcast. But we got to talk about it all. Then we're going to move on to gratitude and attitude. Got to talk about what we're thankful for. And then we're going to debate our tier list. We're still debating which tier list we're going to debate. So you will know when I know. All this and more coming up from the Front Porch.
Big shits and small shits, and no shits like big shits. Woo!
I know. You weren't expecting to see me until we got on the episode. I know you're super excited for it. This will just be really quick, but I wanted to give a huge shout out to the second new partner for this week where I got this sweet hat from, and that's the men and women over at Cowboy Revolution Apparel. It's just an amazing brand. It's U.S. Marine Corps veteran owned and operated, and they're focusing on the principal message of the Cowboy Code. If you want to read the entire list of the Cowboy Code, they have it listed over at Cowboy Revolution Apparel. But I mean, even without the code, is this not the coolest hat you've ever seen? It's so sick. As soon as I saw it, I wanted to be partnered with them. And then when I found out that like their message is just as good as their product, I was like, done. Please partner with me. So again, that's Cowboy Revolution Apparel. They got hats, they got t-shirts, they got merchandise, they got men's, they got women's. Whatever you need, they got it. It's military mixed with Western style, a little bit of everything. I mean, they got stuff for everybody. So again, head over, Cowboy Revolution Apparel. Use code FTFP for 15% off. What more could you ask for? So again, Cowboy Revolution Apparel. Use code FTFP. Now, let's get into the episode. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of From the Front Porch. I'm your host, Joshua Walker. Thank you so much for tuning back in. With me, as per usual, is the boy, Mr. Chest Pump himself, Alex Hartford. How are you doing, my brethren?
Doing pretty good, man. How are you doing?
Oh, living the dream, brother. Both hit, well, you hit chest, I hit chest, try, shoulders,
Because you're better.
you know, yeah, whatever. No, that's why you're bigger, though, because you take the time.
Nope.
But anyway, before we get into everything, got to give a huge shout out to the boys over at Dead Threads Apparel. You've all heard the spiel before. Not going to go through the whole thing, but they've got NFL, they've got college, they've got hockey, they've got basketball, they've got comedy sport, they got whatever you want. I know the NFL season is over, but that doesn't mean that you can't rep the amazing NFL apparel over at Dead Threads Apparel. Use code FTFP for 10% off. Helps out your boy, helps out the company, and you help out yourself by getting some sick drip. With that out of the way, like I said, the season's over now, but the Super Bowl yesterday was something. It was a good game. At least it was a good game. I was rooting for the Niners, but like I said in the intro, but at least the refs didn't decide the outcome. It wasn't because of some BS call or something stupid. It was actually just the better team, the team that played better yesterday won. So
Yep.
It is what it is.
Unfortunate. It was a very good game, though. Not the way I wanted it to go.
But it was nice to watch a Super Bowl that was like till the end you were on the edge of your seat because you were like you have no idea what's going to happen. So
You say it wasn't in the refs' hands, but I saw so many people just because like I'm from New England and everybody doesn't want Tom Brady's legacy to be even compared to. So I saw so many New England people on Facebook. I've never seen a call called before the play started like this. It's like, come on. They're like, F the Mahomes family. I'm like, dude, holy, it's not that serious.
I mean, Jackson Mahomes is like a loser, but like it has nothing to do with the game yesterday. Oh, and even the Taylor Swift stuff. Like at first, I am just as annoyed that they show her every 3 seconds and everything's about her. But even more annoying now, and I was one of the biggest people on it. But it's just like, okay, guys, they're gonna show her. They're gonna show Travis. They're gonna just shut up.
Yeah.
The reason that they're talking about it so much is because they keep talking about it.
Yeah. I saw this, or I was listening to the radio, and they were talking about, I don't even remember how they got on the topic, but they were saying, Taylor Swift has made the NFL $300 million this year. She should get a cut of that money, or she should get her box seat at the Super Bowl for free. I'm like...
See, and then immediately I'm right back on the get Taylor banned from the NFL train, because I'm like, no, she didn't do...
Oh, yeah.
Regardless, I was going to talk about, because there were some plays that I know a lot of people know that sort of decided the game, and the muffed punt was huge that turned into the Chiefs touchdown the next play. Then the blocked extra point was huge because then Kansas City just had to kick the field goal to go into overtime. But the play that I knew the Chiefs won obviously was pretty late, so I'm not like Nostradamus or anything here. But in overtime on 3rd and 6, the 49ers brought the house and the Chiefs picked up an easy first down. And I was like, okay, the Chiefs, Andy Reid, he's got their number. He knows what they're doing. He and Mahomes, they're ready for this. They got this. And then they walked down, scored the touchdown easy, and it was what it was. But I was like, as soon as I saw that play, I was like, well, good game, Niners.
Mm-hmm. That muff punt was very, very unlucky though for it to hit the dude's side of his foot.
Dude.
And so originally when I was watching it, I was like, why would you try to pick that ball up there, not knowing that it touched one of his... But then I was like, oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. That's so
He was trying his best to save it, but yeah, I mean, the probability behind kicking a punt and then having somebody accidentally tip it with their foot, that's...
Yeah.
It's tough, but the game's a game, I guess. I mean, CMC fumbling when he never fumbles, there were just so many things that just kept Kansas City in the game, but
yeah,
they're the champions. They get the ring, so it is what it is.
Hey, did you have an over under for Taylor Swift appearances?
No, I didn't. I knew that they were going to show her every 5 seconds, especially with everybody else who was in that box. But what was getting my goat and what I was yelling at the TV about to Cassie was like, the broadcasters would be like, "Oh, Kelsey's not on the field for this play," and I've never heard a game where the broadcasters are like, "Oh, this guy's not on the field right now." It's like, okay, there are plays he's not going to be on the field, like.
Yeah.
And then just the shove of Andy Reid was just like, okay, this guy can go
childish.
jump off a cliff, dude.
Yeah.
I saw some people who are like, oh, he was just caught up in the emotion of like wanting to. No, I played football all my life. I've played all kinds of sports. You don't shove the coach, like that's such a.
I wouldn't even look at my coach if I was in a bad mood.
No.
I would get scorched.
Well, and that's if this isn't the Super Bowl, he probably gets benched, but there's no way they're benching Kelsey for the Super Bowl.
You know what though? It's supplying a good amount of memes.
That it's a good meme now. I've seen a bunch that are pretty solid, but yeah, season's over. Unfortunately, I posted on the page, but just the lead up to the game and all the stuff surrounding the game, I don't know if I'm going to watch next season just because it's so lame. Like the NFL like publicity team has made football so lame. Everything is like the lead up to the game. Like big Seahawks fan, so I remember when the Seahawks won the Super Bowl and there was all the Marshawn Lynch memes about him not wanting to talk to the press and all those kind of things. Like there was that, but they were like asking people like your favorite color and like what do you like to do in your spare time? And it's just like, I don't care. Can we talk about the game? Can we talk about like I just want some male reporter to go in there and be like, so what do you guys see on the film that like your guys are really concerned about? Like I saw there was this little girl, and I'm not, blasting the little girl or anything, but there was a bunch of clips of this little girl going around and asking these guys about their shoes and stuff. And I'm just like, okay, guys, I don't care. This is so.
It's just a big publicity stunt at this point. It's not even for the game. It's for publicity viewership.
And especially, sort of a hot take, I guess, but especially with Taylor Swift bringing in a lot of female fans, I think they did a lot of things that were like, oh, hey, female fan, look, they're talking about shoes. Oh, hey, look, and it's like, my mom's a huge football fan, and I don't think my mom wants to know about the guy's shoes. I think my mom also wants to know about like what Nick Bosa sees that he thinks he can like attack or whatever. Right. But
it's just all
yeah. But other sport, I had a rugby match on Saturday that was so much fun. It was, because playing football, I don't know if it's playing football for so long or just the way football is now or what it is, but I have a really hard time having fun playing football now. And maybe, it could just be that I've played for so long, or I don't know, but I just had so much fun. And I played the last 30 minutes of the game, 80-minute match. And so I played the last 30 minutes of the game, but it was just a lot of fun. I didn't 100% know where I was supposed to be all the time, but it was just, I knew I was supposed to hit the dude with the ball, and I know if I get the ball, I'm supposed to try to score. So that's right. It was so much fun.
What about it did you like more, like the physicality or?
Well, so funnily enough, it was the physicality, but it's again playing football, especially when you start playing in like semi-pro, like basically like adult leagues. People get their feelings hurt when they get smacked or they get blocked, and so people start trying to fight. The last game I played of football, like padded football, my wife had to call the cops because people were threatening to shoot each other on the field, and it was just nuts. And so this game, people are getting smacked, people are getting crushed, people are getting whatever, and you just get up. Yeah. There's no.
It's just a man sport. Like I feel like with everything now, even like basketball, it's like, oh, I got the better of you. I'm gonna talk a little smack, but then it's like straight to meet me outside.
Yeah, I'll kill you. I'm going to kill you for this. It's like,
we're all going to get each other at some point during the game. Like, relax a little bit.
And then I talked about this a little bit last episode, but the culture of rugby is like after the match, you're supposed to go out to a pub or a bar after the game with the team that you just played, and you guys drink together and celebrate like the game. And it's like that's what I want in a sport. I want to be able to, like I said, knock you around for 80 minutes, or you knock me around or whatever, and then after the game is over, and we're men and we share a beer and move on. But football has not been that for a little while. So
yeah, I feel like a lot of team sports have turned from the better of the team or that's how it used to be, and now it's like the better of the player. Like, oh, did the player score 37 points tonight, or did the team win by 5? Like it's It's just all solo, really. It's like a solo sport within a team sport now at this point.
Yeah, and I talked about it before, but it's sort of like, I think, the Madanification of sports, where it's like all about the flashiness, all about the like getting your ratings up or whatever, instead of just being like, I just want to play the game. So, and I mean, yeah. So my rugby match was that way, and then I've been watching Six Nations that's been going on. It was the second weekend this weekend. Ireland smoked Italy. England beat Scotland, and France beat Wales. And I'm pretty sure I have that correct. I apologize if I missed it, but I do know Ireland smoked Italy, and it was just like, again, watching the game, it was just like, this is great. Like, they're just, every play is 100% effort from every person, and they're like, there's no pads, and they're still sticking their heads in there, like, to make a play for the team. And it's just,
I haven't watched I've really only watched some games like when I was in Florida with you, but I love when they just like the stats that they show sometimes, where it's like there's like nine people, and like when they go right up on each other, and it's like the weight of these 9 people is like 2,400 pounds, and you're like, holy crap, there's some boys out there.
Well, I played second row this week, which means in a scrum, so there's the first row and then there's the second row. And so our job in the second row is to support the first row and then sort of be that back push. And I was like, my legs are pretty strong, but like you feel that weight of their entire side come and hit you, and you're like, okay.
I love when they pick up the little dude by his like loops in his shorts. Lift him up.
Dude, I have a funny. I was practicing lifting at practice last week, and for our team, they're like, well, the best way we have it, and it's gay, but the best way to do it is to get both of your thumbs and they got to be brown coming out. So you just get up there and you fucking lift them by their booty hole. I see why you love that sport now. I love it, man. It's the best sport.
You're like, can I be that position?
Well, they were lifting me, and that's an even better position. You're like, ooh,
yeah.
Little. But yeah, so that's the world of sports, I guess, going on right now. I don't have a lot of updates on hockey. I have, with rugby and the Super Bowl and everything going on, I haven't really been watching. But
I had two football things I wanted to catch up with you on because we haven't had a chance to talk about it. How do you feel about the MVP this year?
Dude, I am beyond pissed, and just though, I mean, actually, this is a good thing too. The whole honors was awful. Every award went to like the wrong person. Like, even coach of the year going to the Browns coach. I know he took this team to the playoffs with like Joe Flacco and a bunch of other people at quarterback, but I think Sean McVay for the Rams did a much better job than Kevin Stefanski. And I even think D'Amico Ryans for the Texans, they had 2 first-round draft picks last year. I understand that, and C.J. Stroud is a baller. But he took a team that had the first overall pick to the playoffs, and they ended up getting sort of smoked. But you didn't think that they didn't get to the playoffs, and you were like, they're just happy to be here. You were like, oh, they might actually be able to do something. And he took that team in 1 year and did that. So, coach of the year, defensive player of the year should not have been Myles Garrett. I think T.J. Watt basically wins games on his own for the Steelers, where Myles Garrett they had like the number 1 defense or whatever for Cleveland. And then MVP, I think Josh Allen should have won it. I'm a little biased because I love Josh Allen, but he led the league in touchdowns and everything. And then I think Christian McCaffrey's under him, and then I think Brock Purdy's under him, and then I actually think Lamar is probably 7 or 8 down, because even Patrick Mahomes, like they had a stellar defense, but Patrick Mahomes was basically their entire team. Like, there were games that Kelsey didn't have a great game and they still won because Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. He's that guy. So it was the weirdest thing ever, and I saw some people talking about it online, but it was the weirdest thing ever, where it was kind of like week 14, 15, the NFL just sort of decided that Lamar was the MVP, and so the announcers started talking about it, and the media personalities started talking about it, and they're basically like, oh, Lamar is the MVP, and then it just sort of happened that way, and it was like, wait, we never stopped to ask why. Like, what is he doing? that's carrying his team more than anyone else. Like I don't understand. But
Yeah, I didn't watch a lot of the NFL. Like more, I watch later in the year, but when I just look at the stats, it just to me it's like how was that guy picked over
yeah,
everybody? The other thing I had was I didn't tune into it because I haven't watched the Pro Bowl in years. How was the
yeah.
Pro Bowl?
Dude, it was so. I talked about this a little bit last week, but it was so lame. I turned it on because it's a flag game now, and I turned it on, going, "Okay, I'm going to watch it because I'm going to want to talk about it on the podcast or whatever." And I turned it on, and I like 5 minutes in, I was just like, I am not going to be able to watch this whole thing because it like 2 or 3 plays in, Tua threw a deep pass to Tyreek Hill, and nobody even tried. He just caught it and ran in, and nobody cared. And it was just like, by the end of the game, it started getting a little bit more competitive because Eli and Peyton, as the coaches, were like wanting to beat each other. But the players were just like, and it, again, I like the Pro Bowl. I liked the Pro Bowl when it was padded. And I like the idea of like these two all-star teams playing each other. But if the players have basically decided amongst each other that the contract comes before the Pro Bowl, then just don't play it. Get voted to the Pro Bowl, and then just participate in the fun games that they do, like the quarterback throw challenge and all that kind of stuff. But we don't have to play the game if you guys aren't going to play the game. Like it's just sort of
That's the
it's
only
lame.
thing I'll watch is like the little skills challenges. That's the
Yeah.
only part of the Pro Bowl that's fun. I think what they need to do is they need to change when it is. Like
Yeah.
any of like the top player or like players that make the Pro Bowl that are playing in the Super Bowl, they won't even play in it. So
Yeah.
you're missing a lot of your like top talents just because of
Well, and that's how
like,
Geno Smith gets into the Pro Bowl is because Brock Purdy can't play in it.
yeah, but I guess it's also hard because like if you were to do it halfway through the year, how could you determine? I mean,
Who's
the
the
NBA
best?
and NFL or NBA and the MLB, they all
NHL.
do that.
Yeah.
NHL, they all do that halfway through. I mean, you can tell who's the top talents, really.
Yeah. And even,
So,
I mean, I would even before, like, I don't know how the players would feel about it, but like 3 weeks after the Super Bowl, like,
yeah,
give everybody time to like rest and everything, and then put it back in Hawaii and let them all take a vacation to Hawaii and play in a fun football game. And then,
right.
like, everybody gets to play in it, who should play in it, and all that stuff. But yeah, it's what they have now is not it. It's not it at all.
Yeah,
So
they definitely got to do something different, but what that is, I don't know yet.
I don't know. But now, shifting gears. But before we shift gears, just want to give a huge shout out to Beach Bum Threads. Unfortunately, the shirt's in the laundry, or else it would be being worn right now. But just such good stuff. It's not very often you get to find beach apparel like for me, but also beach apparel like for you, being from Maine and everything. And like they've got it from basically from the north coast from the northeast coast to the southeast coast, like stuff for everybody. So check out Beach Bum Threads. Use code FTFP for 15% off. They've got t-shirts, they've got hats, they've got all kinds of merchandise, they've got men's, they've got women's, they've got everything you could possibly want. But check out Beach Bum Threads. Huge shout out to them for being willing to partner up with From the Front Porch. So again, Beach Bum Threads, code FTFP. Now, shifting gears, little politics, some big W's last week. I know that like Trump's case in Colorado being won like by Trump 9-0, which is almost absolutely unprecedented. But all 9 Supreme Court justices basically agreeing that what Colorado did was illegal, and then it's a W for me. Like Nikki Haley losing to none of the above because Trump wasn't on the ballot, so she lost to none of the above was sick. But also, it's politics. There's always some bad stuff, and I know we talked about it a little bit, and you're going to talk about it a little bit, but the Department of Justice decided that our president broke the law, but then he's too mentally unfit to stand trial, but also he is mentally fit enough to run the office. It was just a weird situation that happened. And if my biggest problem with that is I think we're pretty much aware of that for his entire presidency, but now that it's in writing from people who are on his side, it's sort of like, what are we doing now? Like, what
What
you know,
what was it? It was like improper document handling or something like that.
also he stored classified documents in his house, and also like transferred some of the information from those documents onto like private journals and stuff.
Mm.
And so they found that it was illegal because he was vice president, and then like he was never the president, so he never had the I forget what the law is, but basically where the president can declassify anything at any time. He didn't have that power, so um, he had them illegally, and then so yeah, they deemed that he broke the law, but he's not mentally competent enough to stand trial, and it's sort of like
It's
you know
not
we
all like what Trump did or what they were trying to get Trump for.
well
And
you know
I heard about that all over the place. I didn't hear nothing about this one.
I it's pretty firmly vindicated at this point that anything that they accuse Trump of doing, they're probably doing themselves and trying to cover it up by just accusing him first. But yeah, I mean it's a tough situation, just because you know I I'm a pretty patriotic American, and so I want to respect the office of the president. But it's like if he's not mentally fit to stand trial, then we have constitutional amendments to remove him from office if he's not mentally fit. And they tried to do that to Trump too, but I think we all know that Trump's sharp, or he's mentally sharp. He just sometimes says some things that are not
Yeah.
very sharp. Um, but if he's not competent enough, then we need to invoke constitutional amendments to remove him. But then again, that doesn't leave us with much better of an option. So it's sort of a tough situation all around.
Are they putting him as the Democrat, the lead Democrat?
Yep.
I'm
Unopposed.
telling you, if he wins again with like being the worst rated president of all time, and just what I see, like I don't know, I'm not big into politics, but just clips that I see about just the way he speaks and stuff, and he's just
Mhm.
not he's not there. He's not there at all. If he can't handle a document properly, which I get, I mean, I'm in comm and I'm in IT and I see
Yeah.
my documents, and you sometimes you make mistakes and or people do and stuff like that. But like I don't know. I
Well,
don't think he should be
and
up.
I I'm as a conservative, I'm glad because I think he'll lose. But I'm surprised they're not putting up one of their like Gavin Newsom or Michelle Obama, sort of a sneaky pick that's sitting out there that some people are like, she runs.
Yeah.
So it's again, that's why it's sort of a tricky situation too, because we have all suffered under this current administration, but I want it to finish its 4-year term, so that way the election is held based on the 4-year term and not based on, oh, this new person might be different. It's like, well, no, we're not voting on like what might happen. We're voting on what has happened in the last 4 years.
Yeah. And what has happened?
Yeah, I mean, other than like everybody's bank account being less and 15 million illegals being in the country and all that kind of stuff.
We just sent what, another 60 billion to Ukraine when the Marines budget is like 57 or 58 billion. It's like we sent again more money over there than what our entire Marine Corps budget is. Come on.
It's wild. If
he wins, I will honestly, I think there will be something crazy happening in the United States.
Yeah, Nash and I sort of talked about it, and then the three of us sort of talked about it the week before. But yeah, I mean, I talked about this with Nash offline, but it was like, I think we're one strike of a match away from the tinderbox exploding, and I don't know what that match will be, but.
And like me, like I say it every time. I'm like, I don't really follow a lot of this stuff. I just see clips in here and there on both sides, and I feel the tension. And I'm not even like in that space or in that realm. So if I'm just like a random person that just kind of casually checks it, and I can feel like the tension of everything, like it's getting pretty serious.
Well, I think I talked about this on here last week, but I mean, you feel it everywhere when you're at Walmart or you're at any grocery store or whatever. I think you can sort of feel everybody's like waiting for one thing just to snap. Like I was telling Cassie the other day, because I went with Jade, and there was a gentleman walking, and he knew one of the workers who was a woman, and he called her some sort of nickname. I don't know what it was. I didn't hear what he said, but he said, "Hey," whatever he said, and she went, "Don't call me that in public." And immediately you just sort of felt everybody like get tense, because it's like, is this the thing that's going to set somebody off and make everybody explode? And you don't know if gunshots follow. I mean, we're just talking about with football, but like it seems like everybody's just so ready to like set the world ablaze for anything. It's a very scary time, and that's having a 3-year-old and a newborn. It's like everywhere we go, I'm basically walking around like convoy protection duty, like armed up, because it's like there's no way I can go anywhere not strapped. And I mean, personally, that's always the way I am. I always stay strapped, but it feels like a necessity now more than just a personal decision I make.
Yeah, it's like kind of like you see those reels. It's like my girl out in public and her brain shut off, and the guy is like, okay, here's my exit over here. Look at these two people. They look a little... It's like everybody's just so on edge. And I think it's just like a lot with today on like trigger culture and just waiting for that one thing. Like, you could never say anything to me that could really make me be like, wow, I want to beat your ass right now. Like, to me, I can't be phased like that, but so many other people is just like waiting for like that one word or that one thing to be like, that's it, time to snap in public. It's just like,
well, there was just another mass shooting. I don't know if it'll be considered that, because only one person got shot, and it was a kid that the shooter brought with them. But there was just a mass shooting in a church in Texas, I believe, in Houston. And it was a transgender individual who went to a mega church to shoot it up. And it's like, well, yeah, you can only tell a group of people that this other group of people is out to genocide them for so long before a certain amount of people are just going to snap and start fighting back. And it's like, well, that's the entire United States right now. Is you're in this group wants you dead, you need to do something about it. And it's just sort of like, it doesn't have to be this way, but it's an unfortunate fact that it is this way.
Yeah, it seems like a lot. It just feels like as a whole, as a nation, that we don't take pride in the United States anymore. Like, everybody wants to be their own entity, and even groups want to be like, okay, I'm the non-binary group, I'm the transgender group, I'm male. It's just like with everything nowadays, it just seems like everybody it's not the United States. We're not united at all. As a people, we're not united. It's all these little segmentations or micro groups and I've been seeing a lot of it online, like, we're like going back in time, black only dormitories and stuff. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it's crazy, because it's a lot of the same people who are against certain things are now for those things, but as long as it's for them. And I sort of have hit on this before, but it's that whole mentality of, oh, you think you would have been against like slavery or the Holocaust or whatever the case is if you were alive then, but you're falling right into it right now. Like, the poll I always bring up is that during COVID, Democrats polled a big majority that they would put unvaccinated people in camps, and then like the rest of them could function in society. It's like, okay, so you think that during the Holocaust you would have been against the Nazis putting Jews in camps, but you just said that you would put the people that are deemed like dirty and bad into camps. So you're doing the same thing. So it's funny, because it's the problem, because you said about everybody's sort of an itemized individual. I think Democrats are to blame for it. So both groups are to blame, but Democrats are to blame for it because that's how they separate people. They go, like you said, oh, you're non-binary, you're in this group. Oh, you're black, you're in this group. Oh, you're gay, you're in this group, whatever. And conservatives cause it because the reason for conservative politics is I just sort of want to be left alone. I want to be in my house, and I want to have my family and raise my family the way I want to, and I just want to be left alone. You do you, I do me, that kind of mentality. And so we've just sort of let everybody, like, because they itemize their way, and then we itemize our like free way, quote unquote, and then everybody just sort of goes into their own holes. And then we had COVID, which made everybody like go crawl into their caves, and then we, like I said, we tell everybody that everybody's out to get everybody else, so that crawls into your cave and makes you on edge. And so we just have a bunch of different tribes in different caves ready to snap at like anybody who might encroach on their cave a little bit. And it's like, that's, you know, you just said that we're sort of reverting back, but we're reverting back to like caveman ooga booga. You're not in my tribe. Here's a club to the head kind of thing. Like it's wild.
making people not talk at the same time.
Yep.
Like, even because, like, what happened to just people having different thoughts and being able to,
Yep.
okay, you know what, you have your thought, I have my way of thinking. Sure, have a good day, whatever. Like,
Yep.
it's like, if you don't think the way that I think, you're attacking me in some
Yep.
sort. And so it's making people, like,
Well, and
afraid to even speak at all.
Well, that's a great segue into something I want to talk about too, is that I had a buddy I work with who watches the podcast. I'm sure he's probably watching right now. And I asked him if he wanted to be on, and he said no, because he's scared to talk about how he feels, because he's worried about getting in trouble with work or getting in trouble with publicly or whatever. And it's like, I don't understand how we got to a point where a certain group of people gets to decide what's okay to say. And then if you don't say that, you don't get to say anything at all. And it's like, even if I vehemently disagree with you, like there's a dude on YouTube whose name is Vosh. Just kind of a loser, but he's talked about weird Democrat sex stuff a lot. And so up until this week, I was like, okay, but he's just a weird Democrat. I don't really care all that much. Now he's talking about like kiddie porn and stuff. So I think he should be thrown into a wood chipper and like banished from this earth. But before that, or somebody like Destiny, who's a big liberal, like I don't want him taken off the internet. I don't want him not to be able to say what he says publicly. In fact, I want him to say it so then we can all hear them. Because I think that's actually a big problem, is that the other side gets to paint what you are saying, and then, but also then your side is sort of just pretending like they said what, and it's like, no, just let them say what they're going to say. Like, you know, a lot of, I talked about this last week, but I saw a leftist say that Trump supporters don't care when kids are killed in mass shootings. And it's like, have you ever actually talked to any of us? Like, have you ever actually had a conversation? Because I think you would know that I care pretty much like the most about that. We have different solutions for it, which is a conversation to be had, but to just pretend like the other side doesn't care when people die is like weird.
Since when does disagreement equal you're a crap person, or like you're any less of a person? Like, it has nothing to do with that. It's just, you have your morals, the way you were raised, you're a product of your environment. I get that. But if I think differently, that doesn't mean that I'm a terrible person. It doesn't mean you're a terrible person. Why can't we just try to figure it out together? Instead, it's like I said before, it's just attack mode. Hey, this is what I stand for, this, and this. If you disagree with X, Y, Z, you're attacking me and you're a jerk. It's like, no, we're just different people.
Well, that's not something he wanted to talk about, but that's something I was thinking about with his conversation. Is it's sort of weird with the transgender thing that, like, as a husband and as a father of a girl, I vehemently disagree that somebody who looks like me could just declare that they're a woman and they're now like my wife or like my daughter. And we can have a conversation about that, but I know there are a lot of people who are scared to say that publicly, and it's just sort of weird that the powers that be or whatever just decided that no, actually the only approved opinion is that men can become women by declaring it, and if you say anything else, you're going to get fired or you're going to get in trouble. Okay, well, I'm not afraid to say what I believe for fear of anything else. I've always been that way. You know, when the COVID vaccine came around, I didn't get it because I was like, I'm not going to ever sacrifice what I believe for the sake of going along to get along. And I think the reason that we as conservatives are always on the backtrack, always on the back pedal, is because a lot of the times the majority of us are not willing to stand on what we believe. And so when you got one person saying men are men and women are women, and everybody else in the room is kind of like, oh, okay, it seems like it's just that one person who thinks that way, but actually the vast majority of the room agrees. Everybody's just afraid to get in trouble for agreeing.
Think a lot of with arguing nowadays is just like, who's louder? It's not like, if you're screaming this, you're getting more attention than someone just being like, hey, this is like calmly talking, this is how I think. So it's a
Yeah.
lot. It's like a yelling, a screaming match, really. And whoever's louder is who's right. It's like it doesn't work
Well,
like that.
and we've sort of reverted to like elementary school where it's like, if, like you said, if somebody's yelling or if they're crying or if they are actually having a panic attack or faking a panic attack or whatever, their emotions are right, and that you're now wrong because you've made them cry or you've made them stress or what. And it's like, that's not how that works at all, actually. I'm sure there are people who would get stressed out. I don't know, but that water is wet or whatever, and it's like, that doesn't make water not wet. That just makes that person incapable of having adult conversation.
Yeah. Did you see the thing recently? I forget. I just saw a clip of it. I didn't like read into it or like who the meeting, because it was like a meeting with like a lot of people, and it was talking about how it was a woman that was talking about how like gender is fluid and stuff like that, and then the guy was like, okay, if gender isn't fluid or if it isn't black and white, how come we don't just have joint sports? How come it isn't just swimming? And it brought up like the women's all time, like in 2020, I don't remember the year, broke the record for women's record for fastest 100 meter. I think it was sprinting actually. And then it was like in that year, 2,500 college males from D3 to D1 broke that same exact record. It's like there has to be separation. There has to be something like that.
Well, and I talked about this sort of last week, but it's like, wherever you go, whether it's Walmart, whether it's a concert, whatever it is, when you are walking through, we all know who's a boy and who's a girl. It's an innate, instinctual thing. And I mean, that's how mating works. And my hot take on this, and I've said this privately, but so this is my hot take on this, is if men can become women just by like declaring that they're women on the inside, then gay people don't actually exist and straight people don't actually exist. Because if you're gay, that means you're a woman attracted to women. But if a man can become a woman just by declaring it, then there's no way that you can just be attracted to women. And so either men can become women just by declaring it, or being gay doesn't exist. But one of them has to like overrule the other.
It's just the same.
It's all dumb.
Everybody has to be included at
Yeah.
some point. Everybody needs their little participation medal. And there was another person. It was a guy who was like, I don't know who he is or anything, but he's like really extreme about like men are men and women are women, and they were like, no, they're not. You can be fluid. So he was like, I'm gonna register as a powerlifter as a woman. Broke like the world's, but like crushed world records for like bench, dead, and squat. And at the end of it, he was like, I'm a man again. So he holds the record for all that stuff.
Well, I just saw the other day that there was a group of 5 guys who joined like a women's volleyball league and dressed up as women and absolutely demolished every single one of them. And it's like, I just, again, I don't understand why being different is not okay. I don't understand why being different isn't beautiful. Like, again, I heard a comedian talking about this, but it's not funny. It's my favorite thing about women is that they're not men. My favorite thing about my wife is that she's beautiful and feminine and light and like all these things. And, I have a son and a daughter, and my favorite part of my daughter is that she's not my son. They have very different personalities, very different ways they were when they were babies, all those kind of things. The differences are beautiful, and it's okay if we're different. It's okay that we complement each other. And I know, like, I don't know what happened where people got offended that because I acknowledge that me and my wife are different, we have different attributes, we have different strengths, we have different weaknesses, those kind of things, that means we're not the same, we're not equal. We're not equal because we're not the same. And it's like, well, no, we are equal, we're just not the same. Like, so, and that's perfectly okay. That's perfectly beautiful in the way God intended it. So I don't understand why that's such a hard, like, sell now.
I don't have any argument with that, man.
I wanted to, let me see if I can find it. Because I've recently followed this page. Everybody should go check it out. The page is just Mankind Against Pedos, and I know it's pretty on the nose, but like, it's a guy who he's been featured in news articles and stuff because he outs predators and stuff. And just something crazy that like, he has like a second and a third account because Instagram is constantly like telling him he's banned from the search and constantly telling him like his profile is being suspended or whatever. And it's like, I genuinely don't understand how that, like, that's another thing. I don't know how we're not on the same page that every predator should not only be exposed, but should be put in a wood chipper and just made into like fertilizer. I don't understand how this is something that's even, and in fact, I know we have a lot of disagreement with how we should handle different things. I know there are a lot of people who are against the death penalty and all that kind of stuff, but like I thought I would figure that preying upon children would be the one time that we could all agree that somebody should be like put in a wood chipper.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's probably somebody high up on Instagram that, or maybe even not high up, but reviews like account blocking and stuff, or they probably have like somebody in their family who did something like that, but they're actually a good person, so yeah, block this guy for exposing that. Like, it's probably something like that, like a position of power type thing.
Actually, last thing too, politically, I want to hit on, just because we talked about so many good things, and so we got to talk about some ugly things too. There was I don't know if you saw it, but there was a case in Kentucky where a man who thinks he's a woman molested a baby, like a newborn in diapers, and now he is totally free. He's not getting charged. His bail got reduced to like $1,000, and now he's just like sitting at home because all the charges got lowered to like misdemeanor, blah blah blah. It doesn't even matter. But it's like, it's in Kentucky, which you think is like, oh, that's got to be a place where this won't happen. But also, it's like, I publicly, I'm not advocating for violence or anything like, but I don't understand how the community didn't like, okay, well, if the cops are going to do anything, we're just going to string them up and put them in the ground.
It's kind of like those type of people when they go to jail, if they find out that they did that to a kid, they get their ass handed to them. So like if I'm in a small town, let's say it's a small town in Kentucky or something, and I see that dude out on the street, it's on sight. It's
like, that's what I'm saying. Like that's something we've lost, and it's so weird to me. And it's a political thing because I know it's very along party lines, but it's like, you know, punishing criminals is not something that should be up for debate. If somebody does something, especially along the lines of molesting children, I don't even know why we have to have a conversation about it. Put them in the ground and move on. We don't need to be paying for them to get 3 hots in a cot. We don't need to be paying for their lifelong trial to whether they get an injection or whatever. I will sign up today for the firing squad, and we can just put them in the dirt, and then we can move on. I don't understand.
It should be pretty straightforward.
But with that said, we can move on, because that's a topic that will just get me absolutely like heated to the ends of the earth. So instead of that, we will move on to gratitude and attitude. We'll move on to what we're thankful for. Would you like to start with what you're thankful for?
Sure. I'll go just because it's something that I've been I'm currently out processing out of the military, so I have to like write a bunch of stuff. And I'm not dumb. I'm pretty smart, I think. But I never realized how much I rely on spell check now at this point in my life. I can't even spell like Jeep Grand Cherokee without being like, oh, is there a J in there or is a C? Like my spelling has gotten so bad. I'm just like so relied on that stuff. So spell check for sure.
Hell yeah. And I don't even think it's a matter of you not knowing. I think it's a matter of like you're so used to if it is wrong, it gets corrected, that now you're like worried about it. You're like, oh wait, is this like?
Yeah, well, I've always learned better like whenever I'm studying, when I take notes, like I learn better that way. So like when I write stuff out a bunch, I retain it a lot more. If I haven't wrote out there, well, that one's easy. But if I haven't written out like a word for a while and I go to write it out, I'm like, I let me spell check this real quick.
Well, my gratitude is very like topical to today, because here in South Carolina it was raining from 10 p.m. last night to all the way. It's still raining right now. And so I just want to give a huge shout out. I'm very grateful for rainy days because, I'm a big beach guy. Sunshine is always great. It's always good for the skin. It's always good, feels good. But just a solid rainy day in between where it's just cold. It's sort of cold. It's comfy. You're probably going to have comfy clothes on. It's just nice. The rain, I always sleep better when it's raining. So last night's sleep was top notch, top tier. So I am very thankful for a nice rainy day.
That's what they say. There's no sunshine without the rain.
That's true.
You can't just have sunshine
all right,
all the time.
now attitude. Exactly. You got to, was that 50-cent line? Joy wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for pain. Sunshine wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for rain.
That's what I'm talking
Bars.
Shout out 50.
50.
Shout out 50.
You know me and my 50 cent.
Yeah.
But now attitude. What's your attitude, big boy?
Okay. I had this happen at Hobby Lobby to me the other day. So, somebody might be on, like a cashier might be on lunch or something, or just like a rant. There was only one cashier working. There's like 7 of us in line. I was like 4th in line. And, they called somebody else up to the front. Another cashier opens and they go, I can take the next in line. And like the 6th person just goes, yep, that's me. I'm like, what are you doing? How does that even...
In what universe are you the next person?
Yeah, get the fuck out of my face. Damn, I'm getting hot again.
Well,
I'm getting hot again.
Dude, it's so funny. Every opportunity that people have to be like savages, they just do it. Like I remember during COVID, it was like with the toilet paper, people were throwing punches over toilet paper. But it's like we all play really nice. We all play like all dressed up and whatever, and we're in our cute little like grown-up clothes. And the minute that you can just be a savage to other people, people are like, "Get out of my way!"
Yeah. Man, I
Dude,
just don't. There's just no common sense.
Dude, at last time when I was at SeaWorld, there was a huge line for the orca show, and so because we have the 2 kids now, the 4 of us, Jade walks with me while Cassie pushes the stroller. And this 50-some-year-old woman, little tiny older lady, almost trucks Jade over trying to get in line for this show. And I'm like, what part of you thinks that if you were to hit my kid, I wouldn't drop you on the ground? Right. Like, I understand that, like, that lady has probably never faced ramifications for being that kind of person in her life. But, like, if you hurt my kid, even as an older woman, I will throw you to the ground. I will do anything for my kids. And I'm very much against hitting the ladies, but you hit my little girl, it's all bets are off.
Yeah, facts. Look, unlucky for you, you'd probably friggin' beat some trans bi person, make the news as a targeter or something.
Yeah, like I targeted a trans person at SeaWorld, and it's like, oh, they hit my kids. Like, no, they didn't. You're just a bigot.
Yeah.
That would be my luck. All right, my attitude this week. I've sort of been trying to think of one. We talked about a lot of things that sort of annoy me, but we talked about something coming on, and it was sort of nonchalant. But something that my attitude this week is just that everything you order, and I know a lot of the problem is ordering online, but everything you order is a different size. And even if you order everything across the board extra large, you have no idea what size it's actually coming in. Because like this right here is an extra large, and then I order an extra large from somewhere else, and it's a dress. Or like I order a hat, like this hat basically goes all the way to the end, but then I order another hat, and it's got to be 2 buckles loose, and it looks ridiculous. And it's just like, can we all get on the same page with like what size an extra large is and what size a large is, et cetera, et cetera. So that just, oh man.
Oh yeah, it's hard for me because like I can't find my size pant. Yeah, I have like a 6'10" wingspan and a super long legs and a short torso. So like I can't find
fucking orangutan.
You should see me deadlift, dude. It looks terrible. Because I'm like a 38 length in jeans, and like in store 36 is the longest you can go. But if I try to buy it online. Ashley bought me like something that was for like taller people, and you got like an extra large tall, and I have like this much that hangs off my leg on these sweatpants because they're just too long. Like none of the sizing is right. It's terrible. I'm with you on this one.
And I know, like, you're an orangutan, and I'm built pretty big and large too. But like, I know it's built for like the average person. So like, we're out of that conversation. But it's like, okay, guys, we're in modern year, and you guys are making like Target has their own like fat person section. How about we just get some love over here with the big guys, and we get some like normal sizes, and not big and because like you said, not big and tall, because I'm not trying to look like a 2000s gangster with like stuff hanging down off of me, but like I just want stuff to fit all the same, and then I'll figure out my size from there. But I just want it all to be the same.
Yeah. Or you'll find like the shirt, like the brand and shirt that you like, but then they discontinue it, so you'll never find it ever again.
Yep. So when you're frustrated like this, you have a frustrating day, and you just want to go home, and you want to put some TV on, and mindless TV can be like annoying even in its own. It's like, okay, I just don't care for this at all. But there are those TV shows that are just like, man, the thought. It used to be like this a lot back in the day, but the thought of that watching that next episode or being able to see that next episode just hits that button, and it's like, ooh boy, I can't wait for the next episode. So the tier list this week is a tier list for our favorite TV shows. I will go ahead and start because you started with Gratitude and Attitude. So my tier 3 was my most difficult because I couldn't decide between two. So honorable mention to The Boys. The Boys is sick. I unfortunately, there's some things in there that I don't really agree with, and I know it's supposed to be making fun of conservatives a lot, but we just sort of take that and make that our own thing. So now Homelander is one of the boys, so that is what it is. But so shout out The Boys, that's a sick show. But what took its place in tier 3 is Invincible, which is sort of along the same lines, both made by Seth Rogen, but I like it a little bit more because it's a little bit more serious, and because it's an adult animation, they can sort of do more things with it than you can with live actors. So tier 3 would be Invincible. Shout out Omni-Man, what an absolute Chad.
Yeah, you got me onto that show. I haven't finished it yet, but everything that I've seen on that show I liked. Absolutely. That's
I haven't finished season 2 yet because of tier 2 and tier 1, but we're going to get there eventually. But yeah, it's just a great show. I mean, the voice acting's great, the animation's great, the story's great. And actually something I want to like shout out them too, because there's some stuff I guess that people on my side or whatever would consider woke, but I don't actually think it's all that like egregious. Like there's like a gay dude in it, but it's like, okay, yeah, there's a gay dude, he's friends with a gay dude, whatever. And there's like, it's just those kind of things that people, some people might be like, oh, it's got woke shit in it. No, it's got normal people shit in it. Like, it just is what it is. So, tier 3, Invincible. What's your tier 3, brethren?
I like that. Mine, I'm waiting for the next season. I binge watched the heck out of this when it first came out. Have you seen the Lord of the Rings of Power?
No, because I heard it was awful.
Really? I've read that a lot too, but I loved it. Personally.
Yeah.
I think the new season.
You're allowed to love it, man.
Yeah, and I don't even like.
What do you?
I don't like Lord of the Rings, really. I don't. I think they're cool, but I don't like. I'm not a nerd about it or anything. But I really like that show. I really like that show.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen it, so I don't have any additional things, but I'm glad you like it, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
I can't believe I left it off the list because the new seasons are really bad, but I also want to give an honorable mention to The Mandalorian season 1 and 2-ish. They were just sick, man. It was like the most nostalgic Star Wars feeling I got watching anything Star Wars since like maybe the prequels, but especially like the original trilogy for the first time. So shout out The Mandalorian. That was sick. But my tier 2 is like, he's my favorite actor right now as the star. The main character is basically who I want to be in life. So tier 2 would have to be Reacher for me. Love Alan Richson. The idea of, Cassie talks about all the time that basically if I didn't have her and the kids, I would live like him, just like randomly, like with one outfit and a toothbrush to spare, and that's about all I carry with me. And it's like, that's That's how I would be. So, tier 2, Reacher. Have you seen it, brother?
I've seen the first season. Is there multiple seasons? Okay.
The second season
seen,
just finished recently.
Okay, I've seen the first one. That dude is a very wide variety. From Blue Mountain State to Reacher.
Yeah.
Oh man, I saw a clip on him recently because like you and I are both big on like men's mental health, and he was talking about how when he tried to kill himself and how he thought the world would be a better, and he's like spoke on that, and I was like, dang, I love this dude now. He's awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I mean that's such a good, and he like 'cause he's a big Christian, he's a big men's mental health advocate, and being this, I mean, I think he understands that a lot of his appeal is that he's a big jack dude who's a handsome guy, and so like so he could like sort of lay into that and lean into that, but instead he's gonna stick to his guns and stand up for what he stands up for. So I mean, just one of the greatest actors in Hollywood right now, I think. Shout out Alan Richson. Tier 2, bro.
My tier 2. I've rewatched it probably 2 or 3 times now, and I'm not a huge like crime TV type person stuff, but I loved Dexter. That was one of it's close to number one. I wanted to put it number 1, but number 1 is more like a childhood thing for me. So I had to put it at number 2. So Dexter number 2.
Yeah, I actually have never seen it, and not because of like I didn't want to watch or anything, just something that slipped off my radar. But one of these days I'll have to watch it. Cassie loves crime shows like that, so I'll have to.
They recently
sit
came
down
out
and
with,
watch it together.
I don't want to tell you how it ends or anything like that, but how it ends is like a cliffhanger. And I think they recently came out with the show that's like how life goes on after everything. And I haven't watched it yet, and I haven't heard good things about it, but I'm gonna have to watch that soon.
Yeah, I mean, every time something new comes out, there's not too many good things people have to say about it, unfortunately. So you just got to sort of watch it for yourself. So my tier 1, I know I've had an honorable for everyone, but honorable mention because you said about childhood. The first show I ever watched, like, you know, every week the new episode came out, and I've watched the whole season. The very first series I ever did that with was the series Chuck with Zachary Levy, however you say his name. But show where he's a nerdy like IT specialist, and then he gets like super spy abilities. Just a pretty cool show, pretty like just good-hearted sort of show. Yeah, huge shout out to Chuck. But my tier 1. It's the season is not new, and I'm still I've been watching the season 1 every night because it's so good. Tier 1 is Rogue Heroes. It's a show on Amazon Prime. It's about the forming of the SAS, but it's not a it's a documentary where they tell the story, but it's like an actual show version of it as opposed to just like somebody narrating it. And it is so good. The actors are great. The acting is great. The set pieces, it's set in World War II, which is my favorite like historical time period and all those kind of things. So if anybody hasn't seen Rogue Heroes, I highly recommend it. Alex, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. I just got Nash on it earlier this week, and yeah, it's so good. If you watch it, Alex, I'll tell you who you are in, because there's a group of 3 of them that start the SAS, and I'll tell you who you are in my head every time I see it. So tier 1, Rogue Heroes.
There's so many. It's so hard with like Peacock, Paramount, Apple TV, and like all these people, like they're paying buttloads to have like this show, but if you want to watch it, you got to be on this, and then Amazon Prime got it's hard to keep up with all the shows going on all these different things. So I haven't watched it, haven't even heard of it, to be honest, but I will check that one out. I'll put that down.
I will send it to you. But all right, man. You're ending us off, brother. What is the best tier 1 TV show of all time?
It's more of like a sitcom or like, one of those family friendly shows from Nickelodeon back in the day. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is my favorite show of all time. Everybody says
that is a solid tier 1.
And I don't agree with it, that I look like a white Will Smith. I don't agree with it.
I could see it. Actually, I could see it a little bit. Little
Great.
young white Will Smith.
Great.
I think it's a
But yeah,
compliment.
that's how I got into sneakers with that show. Best show ever for me.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that all the way through, and it's. I mean, I'm not saying anything that most people don't say, but the scene where he's crying about his father or yelling about his father, and then he ends up being like, "Why doesn't he want me?" And it's all unscripted and just the pinnacle of good TV. So nothing, no disagreements from me on yours. That's high quality.
Good, because if you came after what my opinion, dude, I would have had to.
Yeah, dude, that's how it works. We would have pulled guns out and had to have a duel about the fact that your TV show is not my favorite TV show.
Man.
But all right, man. Well, that hour went by real fast. Do you have any last second thoughts before we get out of here?
Let's see if I missed anything in my little notes here. No, I got everything. I think Callie wants to say goodbye. Yeah, big stretch. That's it.
Hell yeah, pulled dogs out for the views.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I also don't have anything. I think we covered pretty much everything. Yeah, great episode. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been From the Front Porch. I am your host, Joshua Walker. This is the boy, Alex Hartford. We appreciate you so much if you're still here. If you are still here, please like, please comment, please subscribe. That's all I got, and we will see you next week.